Okay, so this is 2007, question 1 again, company final accounts, and I'm going to do part 7. And part 7 here is, there are several parts to part 7, so the directors recommend that the preference dividend due be paid, first of all. So, first of all, we need to know what is the amount that's due to the preference shareholders, and usually when they say something like that, it means that there's been an interim dividend paid, and there has been. Here we have it, 6 months, 48,000. So, what they're saying is, if I call this part A, they're saying 48,000 was paid so far. What you need to work out is how much of that was for the ordinary shareholders and how much is for the preference shareholders. So if we look at where the preference shareholders, 10% preference shares, 400,000. That means that the preference shareholders should be receiving in dividends 10% of 400,000 each year, which is 40,000. And so if 48,000 was paid for, again it says 6 months, then if the preference shareholders should be getting 40,000 for a year, they should be getting 20,000, it means, for 6 months. That's for the preference dividends. And if they got 20, then the remainder of this 48, which is 28,000, must have been gone to the ordinary shareholders in the form of ordinary dividends. Oops. So 40,000 in total for the year for preference shareholders, which means for 6 months they should be getting 20,000. So if they got 20 out of the 48 that was paid for the first 6 months, then the other 28 must have been for ordinary dividends. So when they say the preference dividend due be paid, well, if they already received 20 for 6 months, then they're due another 20 for the second half of the year, for the other 6 months. So our profit and loss account, you're going to have a section for proposed dividends, and that's going to go up by 20,000 because you're proposing to pay the final 20,000 that you owe to the preference shareholders. And in your balance sheet, you'll have your dividends due, and that's going to go up by 20,000, and then everything's going to balance just fine. Okay, so the second part of this then is a final dividend on ordinary shares be provided, bringing the total dividend up to 11 cents per share. So that's related to this one up here. So if you want to bring the total dividend up to 11 cents per share, how much are you going to have to pay out in total? Well, there's ordinary shares, there's 800,000 of them. 800,000. If you want in total then to get 11 cents per share, then you multiply 800,000 by 11 cents and you get 88,000. Okay, so if you get 88,000, or if that's what you want to pay your ordinary shareholders in total, but you know from this working up here that you've already paid them 28, it means that you're going to have to pay them a further 60,000. 28 from 88 is 60,000. So what you're saying is, again, it's the same area you put it in the profit and loss account, your dividends proposed or proposed dividends is going to go up by 60,000. And you're proposing to pay it, you haven't paid it yet, so you owe it. So your balance sheet, dividends due, is going to go up by 60,000 also. Okay, so then part C is, let's see what it is. Provision be made for both investment income and debenture interest due. Okay, so your investment income, where is it? Investment income, why don't I see? Oh yeah, 9% investments, first of the first, so start of the year, you had them all year, 320,000. So you're just going to say 320,000 by 9% is equal to 28,800. And is there some kind of investment? Oh yeah, your patents were already incorporating 3 months investment income. So it means you've already got 3 months of that entered into your profit and loss account already. So we need to work out what that 3 months is. You should have this done previously though. 09 by 312. Wait till I get a calculator over here. Let's see how we get. 7,200 is what I'm getting. Okay, so subtracting that from that gives me 21,600 Oops. So you're saying you already received 312, so that amount may already have been entered into the profit and loss account for you. So you need to put a further 21,600 into the profit and loss account to bring it up to the total that ought to have been paid to you, or that you ought to have received this for this year is 28,800. So your profit and loss account then will be in the investment income section, in the gains if you like, although we keep it sort of separate to the other gains. Goes plus 21.6, and to balance that in the balance sheet, investment income due in the current assets plus 21,600. Okay, I need to turn the page about. I do have a page here, and second here. So what were we? We're still on part C, wasn't it? Yep. So our debenture interest then is, what were our debentures? Let's see. 8% debentures, is that 180? It is 180. So 180,000 by 8%. 8%, I think I'll go for the calculator again actually. 14,400. 400. So that's what you ought to have been receiving. Did you already have some? Oh yeah, debenture interest for the first 4 months, 5,000. Although you've probably, let me see. Oh yeah, here it is in the suspense. Incorrect figure for debenture interest. So you probably have the correct figure already adjusted because you've done this suspense adjustment already. So let's see what the 4 months should have been. It was, where are my debentures again? 8% by that by 4 months, isn't it? Yeah, 180,000. By 8% by 4/12. Calculator for this as well. Oh yeah, I can do this quickly. 4,800. And then if that's what you've already paid, then what you still have to pay is whatever, when I subtract this from the 14.4 is 10.96, isn't it? And so in my profit and loss, debenture interest section, or interest payable, whichever you prefer, goes up by 9,600 to bring it to a total of 14,400. And my balance sheet, debenture interest due, or just interest due if you like, also goes up by 9,600. So that's part C done. Then part D. What's part D? Oh yeah, provision for bad debts to be adjusted to 4% of debtors. Okay, so that's straightforward enough. The only issue is you will have to have the correct figure for debtors. So the debtors figure here is 100,400, but there is an adjustment before that. Let me have a look. Supplier? No. Behalf of a debtor, that's what? Let me do. So your debtors figure should actually be 97,900, I think. I think so. 97,900 is what the debtors figure. Like, even though it says debtors here of 100,400 euros, you should already have gotten a different figure for debtors because of the adjustments down along here, specifically the one in here. So if this is the figure for debtors you have, then it's just a matter of getting 4% of that, because it's adjusted to 4% of debtors. Need a calculator for that again. 1 second now. 3916. 16. And so that's what you want your provision for bad debts to be. What is it at the moment? Oh, bad debts provision 3,200 it says. So it's 3,200 at the moment. Subtracting that, it means you want it to go up by another 716 euros. So if so, that's known as an increase in bad debts provision. An increase in bad debts provision is an expense. So in the profit and loss, in expenses, increase in, I'm just going to say bad debt provision, but I wouldn't advise anyone to use that kind of level of shortening it. That goes up by 716, that's an expense. And in the balance sheet, just your bad debts provision, which is in the current assets, which you subtract from the debtors, goes up by 716 also, and that's that should balance. And finally, E, what is it? Oh yeah, buildings to be depreciated rather by 2% of cost. So again, your buildings has changed from the beginning, so it won't just be get 2% of this 902 figure, because you had this storeroom that you lost, which, so your buildings went down by 40,000 and went, oh sorry, by 40,000 and went up by 19 plus 51, which is 70. So in total, your buildings went up by 30,000. So this should be 932,000, and it said you're depreciating at a rate of 2% per annum. Calculator again, now 18,640, and that's just in the profit and loss account. In the expenses, buildings depreciation, goes up by 18,640. So that's an expense which will reduce your net profit. And in the top half of your balance sheet, in your accumulated depreciation of buildings, that will also go up by 18,640, which will reduce your balance in the top half of your balance sheet. And that's it.